Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Physio's Healing Touch. So first of all, I want to apologize for not uploading any video from last 2 months, and that is because I was busy in my exams. But from now on, I will try to upload video every day, and you can also write any topic that you want me to explain in the comment section and I will reply you. So without any further delay, let's start this video. In case if you want to know stretching of lower limb muscles and neck muscles, I have already uploaded video for the same and you can go and check them out. According to some researches, they say the duration of stretching should be in between 15 seconds to 30 seconds. So in between 15 and 30 seconds, this is the most efficient timing to increase the range of motion of that particular muscle. So if you want to do static stretching of any particular muscle, then you should hold that stretch for at least 15 to 30 seconds, and the repetitions will be around 2 to 4 repetitions according to some researches. So the first muscle of upper limb is deltoid muscle, and if you want to stretch the anterior fibers of deltoid muscle, first we have to know the function of anterior fibers of deltoid muscle, and that is flexion and medial rotation. So to stretch that muscle, we have to do just opposite of that function. So we have to extend and externally rotate to stretch the anterior fibers of deltoid muscle. So to stretch anterior fibers, we will do extension and external rotation. Now the next is posterior fibers of deltoid muscle. So to stretch the posterior fibers, the function of posterior fibers is to extension and external rotation. So to stretch that muscle, we have to do just opposite of that function, that is flexion and medial rotation. By performing flexion and medial rotation, we can easily stretch the posterior fibers of deltoid. So the next muscle would be supraspinatus. So the function of supraspinatus is abduction and external rotation. So now let me tell you how to stretch supraspinatus muscle. So to stretch the supraspinatus muscle, I have to do internal rotation because it do external rotation. So I will do internal rotation, and I will adduct my hand because it abduct the hand. So I will adduct my hand. First you have to move your hand behind your body, and then you have to pull your hand inwards towards the uninvolved side, like the way I am doing. So I am pulling my hand inwards towards the uninvolved side. And then to increase that stretch further, you can also lean your body. As you can see, I am leaning my body. So to get a better stretch, always remember you don't have to laterally flex your trunk, you just have to lean your body to increase the stretch. So now I will tell you how to stretch shoulder capsule. So first will be inferior capsule. So to stretch inferior capsule, elbow will be overhead and flexed, and then you have to place your uninvolved hand on the elbow, and then you have to pull that elbow behind the head. So you can see I am pulling my elbow behind the head to stretch the inferior capsule. Now the common substitution seen while doing this stretch is patient can laterally flex his trunk while stretching the inferior capsule. So you have to tell the patient to keep his trunk straight. So now the next is posterior capsule. So to stretch posterior capsule, your position will be like this. Your elbow should be at shoulder level. Always remember your elbow will be at shoulder level, and you have to pull your arm across the body like this. Like the way I am pulling, you have to pull your arm across your body. One thing that you have to keep in mind is you don't have to rotate your trunk. Okay, so you don't have to rotate your trunk, you just have to pull your arm across your body. So now stretching of anterior capsule. So to stretch anterior capsule, you have to jam the door like this. Now to stretch superior anterior capsule, the elbow will be positioned below the shoulder level. As you can see, my elbow is below the shoulder level to stretch a superior anterior capsule. Now to stretch middle anterior capsule, the elbow will be positioned at shoulder level. It will stretch my middle anterior capsule. So the elbow will be positioned at the shoulder level. And now to stretch the inferior anterior capsule, my elbow will be positioned above the shoulder level. As you can see, so these both three three positions will stretch different fibers of anterior capsule. And while doing all these stretches, you can see my one foot is in front of the other foot, and that stretching force is created by my back foot. So now the next muscle is biceps brachii. So the function of biceps is at shoulder level it flexes the shoulder, and at elbow level it flexes the elbow and also supinates the forearm. So these all three functions are of biceps brachii, and to stretch that muscle we will do just opposite of these functions. That means we will extend the shoulder joint, we will extend the elbow joint, and we will pronate the forearm. So you can see this is the stretching of biceps brachii. Now the next muscle is triceps. So the function of triceps is extension at the shoulder level, and it also assists in adduction, and at elbow level it extends the elbow. Now to stretch the triceps, first we have to flex the shoulder and then we have to flex the elbow, and the patient has to touch the opposite scapula. Like this, you have to pull the elbow behind the head. Now I will tell you how to stretch forearm extensors. So to stretch forearm extensors, you have to extend your elbow joint and then you have to flex your wrist to stretch forearm extensors. And to stretch forearm flexors, you have to extend the wrist joint, and in this way you can stretch forearm flexors. But in case if you want to stretch some specific muscles like flexor carpi ulnaris, flexor carpi radialis, or extensor carpi radialis, extensor carpi ulnaris, then let me tell you how to perform some specific stretches of some muscle. So to stretch flexor carpi radialis, what I will do, I will perform ulnar deviation and then I will perform wrist extension. So this is the stretching of flexor carpi radialis. Now to stretch flexor carpi ulnaris, the function of that muscle is to ulnarly deviate and then wrist flexion. So to perform its stretching, what I will do, I will perform radial deviation, opposite function of that muscle, and then I will extend the wrist joint. So this is the stretching of flexor carpi ulnaris. So just like that, I will perform stretching of extensor carpi radialis. So the function of extensor carpi radialis is to extend the wrist and radially deviate the wrist. So to stretch this muscle, I will flex my wrist and then I will perform ulnar deviation. So this is the stretching of extensor carpi radialis. And to perform stretching of extensor carpi ulnaris, its function is to extend the wrist joint and perform ulnar deviation. So to stretch this muscle, I will flex and radially deviate. So this is as simple as that. You just have to perform the opposite functions of each muscle and then you can stretch that muscle efficiently. Now to stretch flexor digitorum superficialis, the function of flexor digitorum superficialis is at MCP joint, metacarpophalangeal joint, it flexes MCP joint, and at proximal interphalangeal joint it also flexes proximal interphalangeal joints. Now remember, it does not act as distal phalangeal interphalangeal joints. Flexor digitorum profundus perform the function of flexion at distal interphalangeal joints. So if we want to stretch flexor digitorum superficialis, we don't need to extend the DIP joint because it does not act at DIP joint. But if we want to stretch the flexor digitorum profundus, then we need to stretch all the interphalangeal and MCP joints because it also act at DIP joint. So now after flexor digitorum, I will tell you how to stretch extensor digitorum. So the function of extensor digitorum is to extend the wrist and extend the fingers. So to stretch that, we will flex the wrist and we will flex the fingers to stretch the extensor digitorum efficiently. Now to stretch flexor pollicis longus. Now the function of flexor pollicis longus is to flex the thumb and it also assists in the flexion of wrist joint. So to stretch flexor pollicis longus, we will extend the thumb and wrist joint of the stretching of lumbrical muscles. So the function of lumbrical is at metacarpophalangeal joint, it flexes the metacarpophalangeal joints, and interphalangeal joints, it extends the interphalangeal joints. So it is like this. So to stretch lumbrical muscle, we will perform the just opposite function of lumbricals, that is at MCP joint as it is flexing, so we will extend. So to stretch lumbricals we will extend, and at interphalangeal joints it is extending. Lumbricals muscles is extending interphalangeal joints, so we will flex it. So we will stretch it like this. So are you getting my point? So I'm just doing opposite function of that muscle, and I'm stretching that muscle. So it is as simple as that. So I hope you enjoyed watching my video, and if you like my video, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and see you in my next video.